Mm.
Recording in progress.
As Maya Angelou said, each time a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. Good morning, everyone. I am Ria Mathew, Director at Large for Charity, Digital and Media Content, and Food for Minnesota Malayalee Association. And as a program MC for today, I would like to welcome all of you to our International Women's Day celebration. The purpose of International Women's Day is to shine a light on the issues and inequalities affecting women across the world, celebrate the achievements of women, and open discussions about how we can bring about positive change with equity and equality. It's all about uniting together to be the difference. International Women's Day is not about putting men down. You don't have to put anyone else down to raise yourself up. International Women's Day has been held since February 1908 in New York City, and from 1975, the United Nations helped International Women's Day spread even further around the world to make it the momentous event it is today. For International Women's Day 2022, the theme is #BreakTheBias. Break the bias refers to the harmful stereotypes women battle each day that affect their careers, health, well-being, lifestyles, relationships, education, and so much more. Today's International Women's Day event is sponsored by our own community member and 5-star rated realtor, Minu John. Thank you, Minu, for your generosity. Without further ado, let's welcome our Vice President, Kavita Thomas, to share a message.
Thank you, Ria. Good morning to all of you. I hope you had a lovely morning and thank you for tuning into this event. I am grateful that you're all able to join us today and enjoy the event. March 8th was International Women's Day. Today, March 12th, MMA is conducting this event to celebrate International Women's Day to honor women. I believe men and women are two sides of the same coin, human. So where is the bias? How do we break the bias? We hear about women empowerment and equality for women a lot. But the reality is that in order to liberate women, we need to liberate men. We as a society are notorious for being stubborn about defining certain stereotypical roles for men and women within our family and society. We inherit from a legacy where women are responsible for looking after the home and family, and men are supposed to be the breadwinners of the family. But it is time to liberate women from this burden they carry and destigmatize men as caregivers. Men equally deserve connections with their children, their family, society, and not limiting them just to ensure cash flow. It is time men and women work as a team, sharing the responsibilities of a family and running this show as equals. Let's try not to underestimate fathers and overburden mothers. One should become a caregiver or a breadwinner by their choice, not by stereotypes or societal beliefs. I repeat, it's their choice. I believe this day is a reminder that there is yet some work to be done to change this climate of gender equality so that we can build a sustainable tomorrow. On that note, today I have been assigned another important task which very much relates with the essence of Women's Day. It's my honor and privilege to officially announce the genesis of a women's forum under the umbrella of Minnesota Malayalee Association. We have someone very special present among us who is here to address all of you and to inaugurate MMA Women's Forum. She is none other than Indu Chatham. I have heard her speak previously, and her voice connected with me instantly in a ways I cannot explain. She has mastered the art of connecting with the audience when she speaks. And today, she's here to connect with you and answer your questions in a Q&A session we have planned for you. On behalf of the Minnesota Malayalee Association, I would like to welcome our guest of honor, Indu Chatham. Welcome, Indu.
Thank you, Kavita. That was a very lovely introduction. Thank you very much. I just want to, I think I'm going to go ahead with the inauguration. So
wait, I have to complete it.
Oh, okay.
I also would like to welcome all the community members who have joined us today. We appreciate all the support and the help provided to us. Now, we'll pass on the baton to Ria to give her a formal introduction.
Thank you, Kavita Chechi, for your thoughtful message. Now, I would like to welcome our esteemed guest, Indu Chatham, to inaugurate MMA's Women's Forum.
As part of the Women's Day celebration, it's my pleasure to inaugurate the Minnesota Malayalee Association Women's Forum. I wish good luck to the chair, Kavita Thomas, and her core committee members and the representatives. My best wishes to the new team for a successful operation for the women empowerment initiatives for the community.
Thank you, Indu, for doing the honors. Congratulations, MMA and Mitra committee members. May you continue to grow, spread your wings, and flourish. Let's get our Vice President, Kavita Thomas, back to share with us what Mitra is all about.
Mitra, always with you. Mitra is an initiative to empower women to be a better version of themselves, an initiative forum that provides advocacy, education, and networking opportunities. Mitra envisions to create a strong support group that will not only motivate women to stay healthy, but also create a positive, fun, judgment-free space to share their life experiences and teach life lessons to each other that will help them address the daily challenges of their lives in a better way. I consider it a blessing that I have been assigned to chair this MMA initiative. We have put together a core committee and a group of women representatives who will ensure the smooth running of Mitra. Let me take this opportunity to introduce the core committee to you. The Women's Forum core committee members are Ria Mathew, Priya Dawn, Priya Prabhu, and Sharada Ganesh. The Women's Forum representatives are Deepa Kolasheri, Kochirani Cherisheril, Ria Mathew, and Tushara Dev. A hearty welcome to all of you to this MMA initiative, Mitra. I would like to thank you for your time and willingness to start MMA's first Women's Forum. Thank you, and back to Ria.
Thank you, Kavita Chechi. Let me take this opportunity to remind you all to become a member of MMA if you haven't already. You can find more details on our website, mnmalayali.org. And now, here comes a moment we all are here for. Indu Chatham is a certified life coach who lives in Mesa, Arizona, with her 3 children, Luke, Maya, and Matthew. Although trained as a lawyer from National Law School of India University, she chose to stay home with her kids for over 18 years. She discovered life coaching a few months before her husband passed away unexpectedly. She is passionate about sharing all the techniques that she personally used to navigate the toughest period of her life. These techniques serve as personal toolkits for her clients and are universally applicable to all problems that we face as human beings. She's coached people across the globe facing diverse issues, and she is very grateful for the opportunity to have helped people recognize the power they hold within themselves, to take control of their lives, and to harness that power to create the life they desire. Indu, thank you so much for agreeing to share your insights with us. We are very happy that you're here. Over to you, Indu.
Thank you very much, Ria. Coming from you, that is huge, because I've been a very avid follower of Ria on Instagram for many years. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm so excited to be here. And I love when Kavita said that the core value of Mitra is to allow women to become better versions of ourselves. And that is literally what I aim to do with my coaching. I want to help us harness that. We already have all of what we need within ourselves. And I just want to help women find it, and I coach men too, but mostly I help women, and I help them find that inner power, that inner essence that we all have that we don't really even recognize. So that's what I do in my daily professional life. But here, I just want to say it's a total privilege to be with you all. And when Kavita offered me this opportunity to speak to all of you, I knew that I was going to talk to you about something that actually really changed the way that I look at life, because it gave me a freedom that I never knew that I had. And it helped me break many of like the self-imposed and society-imposed barriers that I had put on myself and create the life that I have right now. So what is this magical thing that I'm talking about that changed my life? Feelings. We're talking about feelings. I believe that as Malayali women, we're all Malayali women here, right? As Malayali women, this topic that we're going to discuss is especially relevant because we belong to a culture that glorifies and rewards women for being tough. Am I right? Or am I, like, it's true, right? For being able to handle being a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a professional all at the same time, and bringing her A game to all of those roles. And if she were ever to crack under the pressure, it is often considered a sign of weakness. When she's afraid, when she's overwhelmed, when she's stressed, when she's angry, or she's sad, the question I so often hear, what's wrong? As if having normal human emotions like fear and overwhelm and stress and sadness is an indication of something that has gone terribly wrong. And I'm going to be honest, this kind of judgment doesn't necessarily always come from men. It comes from other women, our mothers, our sisters, our friends. And because we don't know any better, we start believing that there is something wrong with us for feeling normal human emotions that every human being on this planet feels. I know because I've been a daughter, a wife, a stay-at-home mom, a widow, and now a business owner. And I sense this unspoken and underlying pressure to always be positive, always resist any kind of negative emotion, and to show up in all my roles with the best attitude, even when it's absolutely not what I'm feeling. Any of this resonate with you?
Totally.
Yeah? Yeah. As children, we're taught that negative emotions are bad and they have to be resisted, avoided, or rejected. What do? As a result, we spend most of our lives running away from anything that doesn't feel good. But I have to tell you that in the last couple of years, since I've been doing this work on myself, I've recognized that the only way to conquer negative emotions is to actually befriend them, become their friend, try to understand them, stop being afraid of them. This has helped me become a better parent, a better friend, a better daughter or sister, definitely a better business owner. And I want to offer all you lovely women the same opportunity. A chance to live your life being unafraid of any emotion. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what you wouldn't be able to do if you weren't afraid of shame or rejection, humiliation, or fear itself? So that you can create the life that you dare to dream and not have to settle for mediocre or small. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about feelings. So the question is, why? Why feelings? Feelings are the reason we do anything in this world. If you think about it, just think about it. Feelings are the reason we go after a dream. Feelings are the reason we let that dream die. Feelings are the reason we get into a relationship. It's also the reason we leave. Feelings are the reason we go get a job, the reason we quit. You name it, feelings are the reason we do anything. If you really think about it, we've been told for so long, from the time we were children, a perfect husband will make you happy. A perfect job will make you feel successful. The perfect number on that weighing scale will make you feel beautiful. Right? But is that really the truth? You can have the perfect husband and still feel totally unhappy. You can have the perfect job and still feel like a failure. And you can be the perfect weight, the goal weight that you want to be, and still feel ugly. How come? It's because we have outsourced the responsibility for how we feel on the inside to things that are on the outside of us. Things we have absolutely no control over. We have also been majorly set up to fail by this notion that feeling good is the ultimate goal. And if you're not feeling good, something's gone wrong. So what do? We run around like crazy people, trying to manipulate the world around us, thinking that will make us feel good. Who here hasn't tried to change their husband so that they can feel better? I have. Who hasn't tried to change their mother, their mother-in-law, their child, their job? I have. You have too, right? But how many of us have been consistently successful at it? It's hit or miss. When we see that it doesn't work, we often get confused. We get resentful. We get angry. And we get very exhausted. And then what happens? We take it out on the people that we care about the most. Any of this sound familiar to anybody? My goal today is to demystify this world of emotions for you. And I want to educate you on this thing that seems to be running our lives, but yet we know nothing about. And I'm going to do this by looking at 3 common myths about feelings. And then we're going to look at what the reality is. And then I'm going to give you an action plan for how to incorporate the reality of feelings into our lives. So hopefully when you leave here, you're a little bit more curious and a little less intimidated by those awful feelings that you just can't seem to shake. Okay, so myth 1, feelings happen to us. Feelings happen to us. Is this really true? Because if it is true, it would mean we have no control over how our feelings, because our feelings are created by things that happen to us. How often have you thought, my husband is making me angry? My child is disappointing me. My job is not making me happy. I'm here to show you that our husbands, our children, our jobs, none of them have the power to create any feelings in us. What do I mean? So to explain this, I'm actually going to share a little bit of my life. On March 2nd, 2019, my husband, Gene, passed away very unexpectedly. We had been married for almost 21 years, and I had 3 kids. We had 3 kids. At that time, they were 18, 16, and 14. He went for a mountain bike ride with his friend and had a cardiac arrest and passed away around 9:30 a.m. that morning. At this time, I was at a school about 45 minutes away, judging a debate competition that my kids were attending or participating in. If it is true that things that happen to us create our feelings, then I should have felt utter devastation at 9:30 when he actually passed away. But I didn't. I was in a great mood listening to a young woman debate. It was not until I got a phone call and heard about what happened that I actually felt the emotion of devastation. What does this mean? It wasn't until I had a thought about what happened to my husband that I felt an emotion about it. As long as I didn't know and had no thoughts about it, I had zero feelings connected to it. His death itself did not create my emotion, but my thoughts about it did. This is important to know because we have no control over what happens to us in our lives, but we have complete control over how we think about it, our response to it. This is what creates our experience of what happens to us. Let me explain this a little bit better. We have been conditioned to believe that the circumstances in our lives creates our feelings. What is a circumstance? A circumstance is basically anything that exists outside of us that we have no control of. So anything that exists outside of our person and our brain, that's a circumstance. This includes the people in our lives, the things that they say, the things that they do, our jobs, the weather, the gas prices, a diagnosis, someone dying, the pandemic, all circumstances. And contrary to what we believe, none of these things have the power to make us feel anything unless we have a thought about it. Think about a 2-year-old who hears about the war in Ukraine. That baby cannot comprehend it. So she doesn't have a thought about it. So she has no feelings about it. Why do we believe that circumstances create our feelings? If this is true, we should know that circumstances don't create our feelings. Can any of you remember as kids, if you were given candy to make you feel better when you were crying? Did your parents, when you were sad, offer you a chocolate and say, here, this will make you feel better? Have you ever done that to your own children? Do chocolates and candies have the power to make someone happy? Were we also told things like good grades will make you feel accomplished? Your behavior will make me feel proud or disappointed. Being nice and helpful will make people like you. So it makes sense, right? That we've carried this belief into our adult lives. We chase the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect child, thinking that is going to fix how we're feeling on the inside. But what we're really doing is trying to control things that we have absolutely no control over. So when they don't seem to respond to us the way that we want them to, what happens? We feel totally out of control and completely powerless, like victims of our own lives. But the thing with being a victim is that when self-pity runs out, we're left unable to do anything to help ourselves or make our lives better because we've given that power away to someone else. So then we blame and resent the people in our lives, the things that are happening to us, for how we're feeling. The truth is, if we only knew that the way we feel is always an inside job, it's never our circumstances that create our feelings. It's our thoughts about our circumstances that create our feelings. And we create our thoughts with our brain, which means we're in control of what we're thinking. And if thoughts create feelings, that also means we are in control of what we're feeling. Feelings are just vibrations that go through our body, and they're created by thoughts that we're thinking about a circumstance. So remember when I had the emotion of devastation, I felt the emotion of devastation. I only felt it once I had a thought about what I heard about my husband. This is important insight because this means we're always in control of our feelings. This means also that I'm responsible for how I feel. On any given day, thousands of thoughts will come into our brain. And even though we may not be able to choose or control, we may not be able to control what comes into our brain, we can absolutely choose what we want to believe. This means I get to choose how I want to think and feel about anything that's going on in my life. This is an incredibly liberating yet terrifying thought. Liberating because I'm never stuck with any one feeling, and I have the freedom and ability to change how I feel. Terrifying because if we create our feelings, then we can no longer blame anyone else, and we have to take full responsibility. Very often, I see clients use this information against them. They think that if they are responsible for their feelings, they should always be thinking and feeling positive. So anytime a negative thought or feeling shows up, they start judging themselves for having it. And then they're in a rush to replace it with a more positive thought and feeling. But the truth is that's not realistic. Neither is it useful. As long as we're human, we're going to think both positive and negative thoughts. The power lies in bringing awareness and choice to that process. So like right now, I might hear my brain saying, Indu, you haven't really done public speaking since high school. What are you doing here? This is not very smart. You're going to crash and burn. These are all going to be thoughts in my brain, right? I get to decide if I want to believe those thoughts and feel scared, or just listen to it and say, that may be true. That may be true, but I've also prepared well for it, and feel a different emotion like courage, and then do it anyway. So sometimes it's really useful to ask, if you can bring awareness to what you're thinking in any situation, it's really useful to ask your thoughts these questions. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking it? What do I feel when I think this? And is this what I want to think and feel in this moment? Do you see how you're immediately bringing your authority and agency into it? We might want to choose negative thoughts and negative feelings in certain situations, and positive thoughts and positive feelings in others. Like, I wouldn't want to be feeling amazing when I heard about my husband dying. I would want to choose to feel sadness or grief, because that's what makes sense. But knowing that I can choose to think a different thought about it when I'm ready lets me know that I don't always have to feel devastated. I could choose to feel joy. I could choose to feel peace, comfort, if I wanted to, by choosing thoughts that create those feelings. Being able to choose means you have the ability to choose something else if you wanted to. It also means you're not defaulting into a thought and feeling unconsciously. So bottom line, contrary to popular belief, feelings don't just happen to us. We create them with our conscious or unconscious thoughts. And if that's the case, it benefits us to become more aware and intentional about what we're choosing to think. Remember that all thoughts are optional. We're not tied to any of them unless we want to be. This means that our feelings are also optional. You're always in control, nobody else. Brings me to the next myth. Life is supposed to feel good all the time. Think about that for a second. Life is supposed to feel good all the time. Don't we all think this at some level? Why do you think that is? I'm going to take you back to your childhood for a second. Tell me if these words seem familiar to you. More like, don't be sad, be happy. Don't be nervous, be confident. Don't be scared, be brave. As if just saying these words would magically just take us from a very real negative emotion that we're feeling into this beautiful place of happy, confident, and brave. But since we were kids and didn't know how to conjure up good emotions on command, we did the next best thing. We pretended to ourselves and to everyone else that we were feeling good when we definitely were not. It became a habit that we have carried into our adult lives. Living the same lie, pretending to be okay when we're so not okay. Maybe it's time that we actually question the idea that negative emotions are bad and something to run away from. Because the truth is, if we look around, it's pretty obvious that as long as man has been around, pain has been as much a part of our human experience as joy has been. Even if we could protect ourselves from most pain, we still haven't figured out how to prevent death or disease or natural disasters. So until then, we're going to have to figure out how to live with the reality of pain. Besides, if you think about it, aren't there times when we want to choose negative emotions on purpose? For instance, do you want to feel happy when you see a wounded puppy on the street? Do you want to feel peace if you witness abuse or someone in pain? I would hope not, right? So there is a place for negative emotion in our lives. And if you think about it, aren't we all willing to voluntarily say yes to pain and discomfort when we know that there's something that we want on the other end of it? Think of any mother who's had more than one child. First one, I can understand. Okay, I didn't know any better. Didn't know any better. But then the second time, the third time, the fourth time, why? Why? Why do we go to the gym and literally hurt ourselves? What's going on? I believe that in all these instances, we're assuming and accepting that discomfort is a part of the journey that we have chosen. So we don't fight it. We don't argue with it. We don't resist it. We simply allow it. So it seems that negative emotion by itself is not the problem, because apparently we're fine with it if we choose it. So then how do we trick our brain into believing that we're choosing everything that's happening to us? I'm sure you think I'm crazy, but just bear with me on this. You see, life is a balance of positive and negative, whether we like it or not. And it's the contrast of the negative that helps us appreciate the positive. So when we say no to the negative, we're effectively saying no to a major part of our human experience. If pain is and always will be a part of our lives, we have two ways of dealing with it. We can resist it and say, no, I don't want this. Or we can say yes and take control of it. So let's talk more about that. What does resistance look like? This shouldn't be happening. I did everything the way that I should have. It should have worked out. Why is this happening to me? We've all been there, done that. So there's a Buddhist story of the second arrow that actually really explains this. And I'll explain it with an example. Suppose you stub your toe on a chair. It'll cause pain. That is natural. That is the first arrow. It's an actual bad event that causes clean pain. But most of us will feel that pain and then start saying things like, I am so stupid. That chair shouldn't have been there. This always happens to me. I just have the worst luck about everything. These are all reactions that we have to that first arrow. It's the manner in which we're choosing to respond emotionally to that original pain. This is the second arrow. The second arrow actually brings more pain and suffering on top of the original pain. And guess what? It's entirely self-inflicted. It's our resistance to what's going on in our life. And the problem with resisting is that it makes us closed off to life's possibilities. And I'm going to show you how with a quick exercise. Can you all Kavita, I made you all do this at the Canal Convention, so I want you all to do it again. So make a tight fist with your palms. Okay. Now squeeze your elbows into your sides with that tight fist and tighten every part of your body. Stay there for a few seconds. Tighten every part of your body. Hold your breath. Can you imagine making quality life decisions from this space? Not so good, right? Now take a deep breath and release everything. Let it go. Let your hands float to your lap. Relax every part of your body. Feels better? Probably feels open, clear, easy, free, right? This is what acceptance feels like. Can you see how different it would be to create opportunities and possibilities from this feeling? So what is acceptance? You know now what it feels like in your body, but what is acceptance? It's the second way to deal with life's pain. People have very strong opinions about this when I talk about it, because in their minds, acceptance is like saying okay to whatever bad thing is happening. It's like condoning it and saying, oh, I just give up. Actually, what I'm offering is the exact opposite. The acceptance I'm talking about is an active word, which requires us to take action. It means that we're redirecting the time and energy that we would spend on resisting our reality into actually being present with it, connecting with it, connecting with ourselves, and being curious about the why. Not why did this happen to me, but what could be going on and what do I do about it that will give me the best possible result? It involves covering the situation with love and wisdom rather than judgment and fear and blame. So there's this speaker and author whose name is Byron Katie, and she says, you can argue with reality, but you will only lose 100% of the time. So why are we wasting our energy trying to do the impossible? Remember the second arrow? Love and wisdom connects us to our most authentic self. So when we pause, notice, and become aware of our negative thoughts and feelings, we unlock who we are truly meant to be. How do we know that the best version of who we could be in this world is not on the other side of the pain that we're going through? Can you think of any pain that you've encountered in the past that in retrospect is partly the reason you are who you are today? And as hard as it was, you really wouldn't change anything about it. Acceptance doesn't mean walking away from a problem. It means leaning into it with a curious energy rather than a judgmental energy. This is what's happening. It's already happened. I can't go back in time, but I can control how I respond to it. So in my life, I've always been someone who wanted things to be different than it was. Never quite happy where I was. But on March 2nd, 2019, when I heard the words that my husband had passed away, my world did stand still for a few minutes. And then by some divine intervention, I dropped into acceptance. I'm not lying when I say I shocked myself. I clung to the thought, this is how it was always meant to be. And if that is true, I already have everything I need to handle life without Jean from this point on. I cried, I grieved, I hurt a lot, but I was also driven and engaged and feeling powerful. And that's when I recognized that positive and negative emotions are not mutually exclusive. One can totally exist alongside the other. We don't have to stop feeling negative emotion to start feeling positive emotion. So in my case, I could grieve and thrive at the same time. Because within a year of my husband's passing, I had signed up for coach certification classes, and 6 months after, I had started my business. And I'd been a stay-at-home mom for like 18 years. And today I feel like I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to do. I'm giving people tools that help me survive the darkest period of my life. And I'm seeing huge results. And I still feel incredible sadness and complete overwhelm all the time. So the point I'm trying to make is, if pain already exists in the world, why add pain on top of that pain by resisting it? That only creates suffering. Instead, acknowledge your pain, hold space for it, and then use it as fuel to discover what you're really capable of. And finally, we're going to talk about the last myth. Negative emotion always means something has gone wrong. Negative emotion always means something has gone wrong. So about a year ago, my oldest son, Luke, came into my room at night and wanted to talk. He seemed very visibly upset, and I couldn't figure out what exactly the problem was. Finally, he said to me, he's like, "Ma, I cannot do this. Why am I still feeling this way? It's been 2 years since Daddy died. I shouldn't still be upset. This is not working for me." Needless to say, I was shocked. And I tried to console him by saying it was normal and that, like it's, you don't have to be uncomfortable about it. This is normal. But he wasn't buying it. So the next day I got a call from his life coach, which was the best thing I ever did for him. And the conversation that we had really shook me, because she told me, she was like, "Indu, please tell me that there are moments in your life that you fall apart and that you don't have it all together all the time." I was so confused. I said, yeah, definitely no. I'm very often sobbing and overwhelmed because I miss my husband so much and it's a lot going on. So then she said, "Can you please show Luke that you're human and that you do fall apart and that you have feelings that are not always good?" You see, he was not giving himself permission to feel sad, because he thought if I could handle it so well, then he should be able to do it too. I couldn't believe it. Here I was trying to protect my children, from having to see me in pain. And the whole time I was doing more harm than good. How many of you Malayali moms can relate to this? Yeah? Pretending to be strong and not revealing your true emotions to protect your family. This was a huge wake-up call for me. You see, negative emotions exist for a reason. They are not mistakes. They are not problems. They only become a problem when we don't really give them the attention they need. Think about it. Most of us feel the first arrow of fear or anxiety or shame, but we don't ever stop there. We don't ever just sit with that first emotion. We typically go into resistance and judgment. So for Luke, his first arrow was, I miss my dad, creating feelings of sadness, extreme sadness. But his judgment of, I shouldn't be feeling this way, created anger towards himself and the world around him. He wasn't able to sit with his grief and hold space for it because he was stuck in the loop of something's wrong with me and I shouldn't be feeling this way. So as soon as I let him into my grieving process, he started working on processing his grief and he became a completely different person. I'm not kidding. Like, the transformation was like magical. This kid who was hiding away in his room, running from the responsibility, matured into a confident, joyful, and social being within weeks. Giving yourself permission to feel all your feelings without judgment is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. Remember that feelings are just vibrations in our body created by thoughts in our brain. They can't hurt us. So the best way to take control of any feeling is to just allow it to vibrate through and out of your body without resistance. This is called processing emotions. And I teach this in my coaching, and it's incredibly powerful. I'll share with you a quick way to take control of your feelings when you're feeling something negative. If you want to write it down or just imagine it right now. If there's a negative emotion that you're struggling with today, just close your eyes and imagine processing or process it. So when you find yourself in the middle of a negative emotion, find at least 30 seconds to do this. If you have a few minutes, awesome. Take 3 long inhales, filling your belly up, and then exhale deep. And then identify the negative emotion you're feeling. This is anger. This is sadness. This is frustration. Name it. It's important that you name it because when you name something, you're taking authority over it. Check if it's available for you to find the thought that's creating that feeling. And then do a quick scan of your body. Where do I feel this emotion? Do I feel it in my arms, in my chest, my stomach, in my head? And then find that spot and place your hand or hands on it and put your entire focus on it. Say to yourself, it's okay. I'm feeling anxious because there is a sentence in my brain that says, I'm not good enough to do this. I don't have to believe it. Anxiety is just a vibration in my body. It can't harm me. It's trying to tell me something. I just have to listen. And then another inhale and another exhale. And then I invite people to imagine pouring a bucket of love over whatever negative emotion you're feeling. With your eyes closed, imagine that love pouring over that anger, slowly, gently. How is it changing? What do you think love is telling you? And then when you put your hands on your chest and as if you're hugging yourself, then you say to yourself, it's okay. Say your name and say, it's okay. It's okay, Indu. I've got you. You're not alone. I know this is hard, but you already know you can do hard things. It's going to be okay, love. Deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Take your time and open your eyes. It's a much shorter version where I guide my clients through, but the information that we glean from this exercise literally blows their minds. Because our inner wisdom comes through when we access that love. This is also the best way to soothe ourselves when we don't feel good. Because we look to people or things like alcohol or food to soothe us, right? Or like our husbands or our friends, or like something that's outside of us to soothe what's wrong with the inside. The only person who can really do that for you is you. I promise you, this is the surest way to get to the truest, wisest part of you. Just think about it. If you could process any emotion, that means you no longer have to be afraid of any emotion. Can you imagine the possibilities that would open up for you? So I want you to know negative emotion is not a sign of something gone wrong, but an invitation for you to become more of the person that you were always meant to be. I want to end with this story. My daughter Maya is in college, and the other day she called me sounding frantic. She had been going through a very competitive interview process to join a club, and she had just done her final interview. So apparently they asked her to talk about her most transformative experience. She told me that she panicked and talked about her dad dying. I didn't understand what the problem was, because in my mind, of course, that's what she should talk about, right? But she was afraid that it was too real, too serious, and maybe she should have said something funny, something lighter. Basically, she was afraid of being judged for her vulnerability. I was so bothered by this. Why are real, honest emotions a taboo subject in most settings? Do we really have to pretend to not be human so that we can be accepted? Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is when we know, understand, and hold space for these vulnerable feelings that we grow stronger. The more in sync we are with our feelings, the less emotional blind spots we're likely to have. This, my friends, is a place of true power and control. So I encourage all of you to let go of the suck it up attitude and start becoming friendly with all your feelings, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Become an example of what's possible when you're not afraid to feel any feeling. Teach your children that in acknowledging the truth of what you're feeling and understanding why you're feeling that way, it'll only help you make you stronger. When they become unafraid of negative emotion, they won't feel the need to escape their pain with momentary pleasures like sex, drugs, or alcohol. Because even though those things feel good in the moment, they don't actually take away the pain. The pain stays until you address it. And that responsibility is always on you, no one else. Thank you. Now, I am open for questions.
Indu, you are totally a breath of fresh air.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
The topic you chose is so relatable and is the need of the hour. And I must admit that I've never felt so seen like this before. I'm sure all of you who are tuned in today can relate to what you shared with us. Thanks again, Indu. It was nothing short of spectacular.
Thank you so much.
Today's event wouldn't have gone this smooth without Minu's support. And before getting to the Q&A session, I take this opportunity to thank her once again on behalf of MMA. Let's take a look at a message from Minu John.
Hi everyone, I'm Minu John and I'm wishing each and every wonderful woman of MMA a happy Women's Day. I'm really glad to be part of MMA and know each of you. I thank the organizers for arranging this program to recognize the contribution of the women in our community. Many of you might already know that I'm a realtor by profession and business. I have been in the real estate industry in Minnesota for last 6 years and I have completed over 250 plus transactions, including residential, commercial, land and investment properties. I'm a 5-star rated agent and among the best in this business. To add to that, most of my clients are through referrals. If any of you need any help for real estate buying or selling, please let me know. It's a tough market now, but I will work out the best options that is right for you in the cities. Again, wishing you all the best on this Women's Day. See you all soon. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Minu. And now let's move on to our Q&A session. If you'd like to ask questions, please use the raise hand option or the chat window to type in your questions. We had encouraged the community to ask questions when they sent in their RSVP. So let us start with those questions first. So I would like to call Aparna Shoni to ask her question now.
Hi, I definitely wrote these before the talk. So 2 of these are kind of different from what you talked about.
I can still answer them. It's fine. We can talk about
Yeah, so I'll just start with the one that's actually kind of relevant.
Yeah.
So you talked a lot about how we can like sort of choose to decide like how we feel about something, like it's our thoughts that drive feelings. And so one thing that I was wondering is, with the prevalence of social media, we're sort of subjected to a lot more information about global events and just so many different things than ever before. Like we know each other's thoughts on a lot of things to a larger scale than we did before. And that can kind of cause a lot of like conflicted like emotions and all sorts of things. So what is your advice on dealing on all of that?
Okay, so remember what I said, circumstances do not create our feelings. So anything you see on social media exists outside of you. It is a circumstance. You can choose to interpret that any way you want. Now, you might choose to interpret it today in a way that makes you feel anxious. The loving thing to do is to accept that it is making you anxious today. And it's not the actual post that is making you anxious, it's your thought about it. That awareness is key, because if you think the post is making you anxious, Aparna, you have no control. You're a victim of that post. But knowing today my thought about that post is, this is scary. Or this, whatever it is that you're thinking is creating that feeling for you, that awareness gives you the power. Because tomorrow you might choose to think a different thought about it and feel a different way about it. You're still in control. The post is not. You see where the shift happens in power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel anxious today because of whatever you're thinking, allow yourself that moment and be loving to yourself and say, okay, today I'm feeling anxious about it. Now, there's a difference between feeling an emotion or allowing an emotion and acting on an emotion. Like anger is an emotion that is a completely normal human emotion. But when we resist it, when we react from it, we're actually not allowing anger. We're just trying to buffer it with something that feels good in the moment. So when you yell because you're angry, it doesn't solve it doesn't really solve the problem. It just makes you feel good in the moment. But the problem still exists, right? So there's a difference between sitting with your anxiety and processing it like I just did, like that processing emotion, and just saying, oh, well, I'm anxious. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, take the power back. I don't know if that was helpful, but like.
No, yeah, that's a great point. I do appreciate that. So a second question I have is, there's like a lot of self-care and motivational influencers out there. And something that like, at least personally that I notice is that they kind of don't really they're unable to truly connect with the audience that they're trying to cater to. And it can often seem like sort of overly positive or like unrealistic about how they're trying to tell people how to deal with things. So how do you think that they can sort of cater in a more realistic way to these audiences in order to lead a healthier and happier lifestyle?
Okay, so I'm not sure if your question is how can they change the way they're showing up or the way we're responding to it? What, like,
I'm trying to say, like, what would maybe your advice be on, like, to these like influencers and stuff on like how they could possibly connect in a more realistic way with the people that they're trying to like advise?
Okay, so I can't speak for them, but this is how I would show up, right? So I'll give you an example. My daughter is 110 pounds. She is, I think, beautiful. She's been told she's beautiful, but there are times when I tell her, baby, you look really pretty. And she's like, no, I don't. Right? So for me to just sit here and be like, no, you should love yourself because you're so beautiful and it's wrong of you to not love yourself. It's a lie for her because in that moment, she's not feeling beautiful. So even models who look perfect to us, they have their truth, which is they don't always feel good about how they look. So body positivity makes sense when you're in a place you can actually look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, I love the way I look. It doesn't matter how many pounds I have on me or what love handles I have. I love how I look. But most of us are not there. So I prefer to look at the mirror and say, okay, this is what we're working with today. And that's okay. I don't have to love everything about me, but I'm going to have to love the me that doesn't love everything about me. Do you see the difference? Like it's just like when you give yourself compassion for feeling the way you're feeling, you're more likely to change that the next day than telling yourself you're supposed to love the body that you're not loving, because you're just going to feel bad. You're like, yeah, I'm supposed to feel good about this, but I don't. So there must be something wrong with me. You know, and that to me is the whole body positivity versus body neutrality. Like loving you for who you are. Like today I might be angry. I don't really want to be angry, but that's who I am today. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, you actually kind of got the last question I had too, which was just your thoughts on body neutrality versus body positivity. So
yeah, that's how I feel about it. Because I'm telling you, there are days I look in the mirror, I'm like, okay, that's it. And that's okay. It's okay. Be kind to yourself. I always say to like my clients, I'm like, who is the person you love the most? It could be your best friend, your child, whatever. Treat yourself the way you would treat that person. Like the person that you love so much, you're not just going to be like, oh, you're so perfect, you're so great. You're going to call them out, but you're going to call them out in the most loving way, because that is much more likely to produce results than if you're going to judge them and blame them and, you know, just hate on them and bully them. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, that totally answers it. Thank you so much.
Fantastic questions, Aparna.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. So the next question is from Deepa Nambudripada.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she's here with us today.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Hi, Deepa.
Hi. So the question I have is about procrastination.
Okay.
Like I see clutter in my home and then I just, I'm overwhelmed by it and I'm like, okay, I'll do it later. And then the clutter builds up.
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle it. Yeah. I always have plans, but I just don't get to it.
Tell me what is the thought that you're thinking when you're seeing that clutter? You walk into a room, okay? So you're walking into the room that you're seeing things in that room.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
It's messy.
It's messy. And why is that a problem for you that it's messy?
Because I go to other houses and I see everything so perfect, like everything is in its own place, and then nothing is off the place where it's supposed to be. So
why is that a problem for you? That other people's houses, everything is in its place, but yours is not.
I don't know how, like.
What are you making that mean about you? That your house is not the same as theirs?
Inferiority complex, like.
So what do you think?
I feel less than, like, other people will be judging me when I don't feel comfortable inviting people to my house.
So other people are judging me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you feel when you think other people are judging me?
Like I feel alone.
I feel alone.
Yeah.
So when you feel alone, how do you act?
I shut down.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is classic, because your circumstance is a room with a bunch of things in it.
Yes.
I could walk into that room and be like, I don't care. It's fine. Right?
Yeah.
You're walking into that room and thinking, people are judging me. Other people are judging me. That's what your brain is offering you. Thoughts are optional. In the same circumstance, I could be thinking, this is not a problem. I don't have time to clean this. You're thinking other people are judging me. When you think other people are judging me, you feel alone. And when you feel alone, what do? You shut down. You procrastinate. I want to hear what you might be saying to yourself. If I was a little birdie in your brain, what would I hear you say to yourself when you're feeling alone?
Like I just want to, like, go into a hole and hibernate like a bear, so that I don't have to face society.
What are you saying to yourself? I want to hear what you're saying to yourself.
I should tackle this in a better way.
So would you say you're judging yourself?
I am.
So we don't know actually if other people are judging you, but we do know.
Yes.
That you're judging you. Yeah.
Yeah, I should stop. Yeah, I should stop. No, not stop doing that, but I think I should.
You don't have to do anything, Deepa.
Okay.
You don't have to do anything you don't want to. But that awareness, when I think other people are judging me, I feel alone, and then I shut down and I procrastinate, and I start saying mean things to myself about myself. The result I create is that I judge myself. Guaranteed, I judge myself. Other people may or may not judge you. You have no control over that, but you are judging you. That you do have control over. And imagine when you judge yourself, do you think you'll feel inspired to clean your room?
I do get inspired, but
is it from a place of you're being bullied into action, or being loved into making a beautiful room for yourself?
Yes, that second one, the latter.
No. So the thing is, when we judge ourselves, we do things, we'll take action, but that's coming from a place of like, if I don't do it, I'm not as good as someone else. It's coming from a place of judgment and shame. That is not sustainable. So my suggestion to you is, when you see that room, say, okay, I'm feeling a little bit like upset about this right now. And that's okay. I am not going to be mean to myself. That is a choice you can make. I don't like this, but I'm not going to be mean to myself about it. The minute your brain hears that, Remember what I said, treat yourself the way you would treat the person you love.
Mhm.
And okay, well, if you treat the person you love in a mean way, then I don't want her. But you know, if it's your best friend, you would never be mean to your best friend. You'd be like, honey, it's okay. Like, it's fine. We'll take care of it. So when you say, okay, I know this is not how you want it to be, but I'm choosing to not be mean to myself today. You're much more likely to get whatever you want done than if you were to bully yourself into doing it. Because it feels exhausting when you're being constantly bullied by yourself. Right?
Mhm. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. That was insightful.
Thank you. That, I mean, we all do it. That's why
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So we do have a few more questions, but I would like to remind that those who are here on Zoom with us, you can raise your hand. There's this raise hand option so that we can call you and listen to your questions. And those who are watching us live on YouTube and Facebook, please type in your questions in the comment box and we will read it out for you here. So the next question is from Kochrani Cherusheril, and she's here with us on Zoom.
Hi, Coach Rani. Is she on mute?
Yes, she's here.
Oh, there she is. I can't hear you. I think you're unmuted now. You want to say something? Oh no. There she is. I can't hear you.
Do you want some more time? Okay.
Maybe we'll give her a
Yes.
minute. Yeah. I could probably answer another question before.
Oh, she's a good connect.
Oh,
I'm
there
ready.
she is.
Yeah. Hi. Now you can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Sorry about that.
Oh no.
Hi, Indu. I heard
Hi.
about your conference, Knanai conference, and I was looking forward to,
Oh,
meet
yay.
with you, hear what you say. And it was so insightful.
I'm
And
so
I
glad.
could relate to everything you said. My husband passed away almost 10
Sorry.
years ago to brain tumor.
Hmm.
And I have been trying to be controlling the feelings you're all talking about all day today. But the truth is, I am very incapable still, even this is going to be 10th year.
Yeah. That's okay. Just allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling right now.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, everybody says 10 years and I should be better, right? But
Really? You should be better.
but anyway,
Where's the rule book?
yeah, the main thing is the question was validation. You said that I am responsible for controlling your feeling, and I believe it. I believe it, and tell you the truth. I try everything. I go to support group, counseling, everything I could.
Mhm.
And I'm better, tell you the truth, considering the first 5 years versus last 2 years and 3 years, I'm so much stronger, functional, and less resentful or more happy. But still the issue with me, I figured out is, I always enjoyed the independency, right? Now I have a life of independent woman, right? I can have the feeling of being independent.
Mhm.
And I am financially stable. My kids are caring and I am healthy. I have a job. The problem I have is I cannot buy the happy because in all my life, I always demand happiness. I grew up, I married, I always demand. I never kept inside unhappy. If I had issue, I yell it out, I talk it out, I demanded it, right? So I always felt myself like a happy. Sadness, I get over so quickly.
Okay.
And since my husband died, I find myself, I am a dependent person. Everything I do, the opportunity independent, but I'm not happy to be independent. So when I do the car, when I do purchase something, my friends would say, oh, aren't you proud you are doing without your husband? I said, what? Yeah, I am proud, but I'm not happy. I like to do things somebody else asked me and I do. And they said, oh, you did a good job. I wanted that validation. I have a hard time self-validate to become happy person. So I am trying hard, but it's not happening.
No, so, and you have that awareness already, because that is what we do. We look to things outside of us to validate us, right? But the problem with that is we have no control over that. So it's kind of a risky, undertaking, because we will perform in a way that we think other people will appreciate us for, but we don't know, we can't get inside their brain and control how they're thinking. So if we hand over the key to our emotional health to things outside of us, we're basically just saying, screw it, you guys decide whether I should be happy or not. And that is dangerous. Because you got lucky. You got lucky that all these years you were able to get that validation from the people you needed to. Yeah, it's pure luck. Because we think we're controlling those people's responses. We're not, right? So what happened? When you were given a circumstance that's not responding the way you wanted to, you now feel powerless. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So,
how do I get that though?
No. So the point is slowly taking that need from, as we get, so this is what happens when we're young. We need our parents, we need our caregivers to actually provide safety and security for us, right? So we take our cues from them, and we will do whatever we need to make sure they are happy so that we can be safe and secure. Problem is, we become adults and then we do the same thing. We continue doing the same thing. We do it with our bosses. We do it with our husbands. We do it with our children. We continue pleasing people because we think our safety and security comes from them being happy with us. We can't control these people outside of us. So when they're not happy, we think there's something wrong with us. What is wrong is that we don't actually know who we are. We're not listening to what we need, and we're not giving ourselves what we need. Because if you start, and it might be baby steps, Coach Rani, if you start saying things to yourself every day, validating yourself every day, it might take time because you have to unlearn years worth of external validation. You will start filling your own cup. And when your cup is full, it's easy to love other people and enjoy the world without expecting anything in return. Because right now what we think is, when other people give me the love I need, my cup will get full. But feelings are not created by other people. It's created by our thoughts. Imagine a scenario where, your child comes to you and says, Ma, I love you. Okay. And you're in a great mood. So your circumstance is, son says, I love you. And your thought is, oh, he's so sweet. And you feel loved. Imagine the same circumstance. Son comes and says, I love you. But your thought is, he's an idiot. He doesn't ever do anything I want. He's going to tell me he loves me? Sure. And you feel annoyed. Circumstance is the same. He said, I love you. What you thought about it created your feelings for you. So it doesn't matter what these people outside are saying to you. How you interpret it is what's creating your feelings. You are in control of that. So when Go ahead. You were going to
No,
say.
I realize, actually you are saying that you have to do that. But the techniques, like you said, I could look at you and say, you are there. And why it's so hard for me, because I know I wanted to be there. But for example, cooking, I always cook, but people will eat. My husband or the kids will eat, say, oh, this is good. Oh, you should need a little more salt. I love to cook. Now I say, just eating myself, I cook, it's a waste of time, right?
That's fine.
Yeah. So that is an example, right? So every small thing in my life, I wanted, somebody to benefit or somebody to see. So connecting to what we are saying today, I thought the women, like a women's support, that is an area, is like a second question, I was coming that. Women can help other women to fulfill, some of their needs, right? Like validation or enjoyment and, fun and, all those stuff. Maybe the kids are out of the house or you're alone and get it. But is that also not the right way to look at that? Because if you don't have something, you look at other people. That's same pattern, right?
No, so that's the same. That's what I was trying to say. It's wonderful to lift each other up. It's wonderful. But if you're not in a place to receive it, it doesn't matter how much you're getting lifted from the outside, you're still not going to be able to lift yourself up. So the lifting has to come from within first, so that you can benefit from the rest of the community lifting you up. This is just like, when I told my daughter she's beautiful, if she doesn't believe it, it doesn't matter how many times I tell her she's beautiful, right? You have to believe that you're worthy. You have an expectation, Coach Rani, that you should be feeling happy right now. What did we talk about? We're not always going to feel happy. When you make that dish and you don't have anyone to feed it, yeah, sure. You don't feel happy. The only thing I want you to recognize is that it's not coming from not having someone to share it with or someone telling you that it's amazing. It's your thought, I need validation to be happy.
How do we break it? How do we break? How can I break it?
Awareness and every time you realize that you're doing it, tell yourself, no, I actually don't need other people's validation. I need my validation. You have to see, because our brain has very established neural pathways that think a certain way. So your neural pathway, there's a neural pathway that says, I need people to validate me, to make me feel happy. So that's what it believes. So it's going to look for evidence to prove that right. And obviously you're not getting the evidence. You're going to have to interrupt that neural pathway. When you become aware of the fact that you're thinking it, you say, okay, that is just a thought I have. It's not a fact. It's a thought, and it's an optional thought. If I continue thinking that, I just become unhappier and unhappier. So I need to interrupt that thought and say, I need to make myself happy. I have to find ways to make myself happy. And that may not be by cooking. It may be by doing something completely new that you didn't do when your husband was alive. I get what you're saying because I experienced the same thing, right? But you have to be your own champion. I mean, I don't know if it answers your question.
No, you're very much. It's a very much insight, and I really appreciate that. I mean, I understand your point. I'll work on that. Thank you.
Slowly, every time, absolutely, every time you hear it, you interrupt it and say, "I don't have to believe that thought. I don't have to, and I can choose to think something else instead."
Like you said, I need to take control of my feelings, right? I'll try.
Thoughts, because thoughts create your feelings, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Indu. Thank you. Thank you, MMA board member, for the opportunity. Thank you.
I hope that helps.
It really helped. Yeah, thank you.
I think there's Sina and one more person has their
Yes. So let me take this opportunity once again to remind you all to become a member of MMA. If you haven't already, you can find more details on our website, mnmalayali.org. Yes, you're right, Indu. We have two people. So I think Soumya raised her hand first. Soumya Gopinathan.
Hi, Soumya.
Hi, Indu.
Hi.
Yeah, I should first say that it was really, really good, the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, just one point. I have a 7-year-old, and the point where you said, there are instances where we say, hey, don't be disappointed, be brave. So she has this, and she's told me this, that she has this problem of being nervous when she's put on stage or before taking a test or something like that. So I did tell her, initially I used to say, hey, no, that's okay. Don't be nervous. But then I realized that being nervous is natural at that point, because when I was a kid, or even now, before I come into a camera, I am nervous. So I started telling her, it's okay to be nervous, but don't make that nervous try to overcome you. That's what I tell her, but I don't know as a 7-year-old if she understands it.
They do. So first of all, that's brilliant that you're doing that already.
Okay.
So kids actually emulate what you're doing, right? So when you show them that you live by the words that you're speaking, that's the best thing you can do for them. So when you tell her, honey, it's normal to feel nervous. Like I would feel nervous, but if nervousness is going to be there anyway, but you still want to do this thing, what other feeling can we use besides nervousness? Like ask her for thoughts that, like motivate her, that inspire her. Ask her, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to go up on stage? So she might say something like, no, I really want to like be able to sing, or whatever it is that she's doing. I really want to be able to do this, and say, why? So find out her reason for wanting to do it. And then tell her like, so when you like, how does that make you feel? She might say excited. So then you can tell her, you know what? Nervousness and excitement can live together.
Right.
It's just what you feed is what you like, so if you're feeding only the nervousness, that's what's going to show up. But if you're going to like feed the excitement as well, and don't make failure mean a single thing. Like, So that's huge, right? Nervous is because she's afraid to fail. And if you tell her, like, what's the worst that can happen? Ever since my husband died, that's like, what's the worst that can happen? And if you ask yourself that question in any situation, and you come to terms with, I'm comfortable with the worst that can happen. It's going to be a feeling, and I know how to handle feelings. What can't you do?
And is that okay to tell her, a 7-year-old, is it what the worst can happen in a situation? Is it okay?
He needs to go there. And so what's the worst that can happen up on stage is that people boo at you. You forget your words or your lines. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It happens to find examples of people who have screwed up on stage, like who are adults and still done well, like a musician or whatever, and relate to them. It requires work as a parent, but you are giving them so much power, so that's my suggestion,
Yeah, that helps. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Sina? There you go. Hi, Sina. I can't hear you. I don't think I can hear you.
Can you unmute yourself, Sina?
Maybe we'll give her a minute.
Yes. So
if anyone else has a question or
We had a question from Nitu Bala. I don't know if she's here. She was on Zoom for a bit. So the question is, what do you appreciate the most about your life?
Okay, that's a really good question. Put me on the spot, why don't you? Okay, I really appreciate that I'm able to find gratitude more than I've ever done before. And I think it simply comes from believing that in any situation, I can choose to look at it one way or the other. And now I'm able to see the options to how, like, of how I can look at something. So I used to be a very stressed, very overwhelmed parent, human being. And I think going through this whole, like, the last 3 years and my journey has really shown me that there's perspective. And if you can find the right perspective and be kind to yourself, no matter what your perspective is, your life will feel good. And that responsibility is yours. So I feel less tethered to other people. You know, I don't feel like I need other people. This is what Coach Rani said. I actually don't feel like I need other people to validate me anymore. It's the opposite. I used to need people's validation. I don't anymore. And I'm grateful for that. I feel so much more freedom to be who I am. And I'm actually a nicer person now. Because I don't really I'm not trying to control other people's opinion of me. So I allow people to be who they are. So I would say, yeah, that gratitude and the ability to, and it's a very roundabout way that I came to it, but like gratitude and the ability to be myself. And
Great answer. The next question is from YouTube. How men contribute more to women's empowerment, both in the home and society? I don't know if it was how can men contribute?
Probably,
yeah.
I think whether it's men or women, I think to empower someone else, you have to hold space for them. The problem that we normally happens in a husband-wife relationship is when women have something that's going on and they talk about it, the husband wants to fix that problem for them, which actually, in a way, I feel disempowers the woman. Because it's like, well, let me tell you how to do this so that you can feel better, so that you can be better. Even as a coach now, even as a parent, I don't try to fix anyone's problems. Because I believe that every person knows best how to fix their own problem. So I just recommend holding space for that person and listening and understanding, okay, this is their reality right now. They're feeling frustrated about something. They're feeling sad about something. I don't have to tell them to not feel that way. I don't have to try and change that for them. I'm just going to just be there for them. To me, it doesn't matter whether you're man, woman, like that's how you can like be there for someone else. How you can show them, honey, you've got this. I tell my kids now all the time, I trust you to be able to figure this out. My son calls and says he thinks he's gonna fail an exam. I'm like, okay, but if you fail, I know you'll figure it out. I know you'll figure it out. So then he's like, okay, yeah, I will. That is empowerment. When they come in and try to like fix us, it's not empowerment.
Mm-hmm. So the next question comes from Sina. I think she's fixed them.
Okay.
Hey, Indu. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Setting trouble earlier. So great talk, first of all. Yeah, a lot of valuable points. One point I did like is vulnerability is not a weakness. That is something that's a great point. So one question I have is, I learned to be vulnerable in situations like that needed. But when people around you consider that as being emotional instead of being vulnerable, how do you get over that feeling? Again, that's a feeling of being judged by people who love you the most,
Yes.
So how do you get over that feeling?
So allowing people to think what they think about you, giving people the permission to think what they want to think about you, because ultimately what matters the most is how you think about you. So if you're making their judgment of you mean that you're somehow flawed, you're judging you.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we talked about with Deepa, right? Like it's the same thing. So when you feel flawed, you're trying to fix yourself so that you'll be less flawed for the people in your life.
Yeah.
That's not a very fun place to live in, right? Like it's just not awesome to be like always adjusting yourself to the people in your life so that they can like you. Find your truth. If your truth is that you are an emotional person, love yourself for it. The problem is, I'm going to take a guess that you judge yourself for it.
I do.
Yeah. So why blame someone else for judging you when you're judging you? Let them have their opinion about you. I'm going to give you like this example that someone gave me, analogy that I will never forget. Imagine you tell me, Sina, Indu, I hate your blue hair. I'm like, I don't have blue hair. I have black hair. And you're like, no, you have blue hair and I hate it. I'm like, okay, I don't know. Maybe you have some color issue, like, eye issue. I don't know what it is. I am confident that I have black hair. So I'm not going to make it mean anything that you're saying that I have blue hair, because why do I need to convince you? It's something that's in your brain that's making you think I have blue hair. But if you were to tell me, today's talk was okay. I am not as confident about my abilities as I am that I have black hair. I'll be like, why did she say that? That was not very nice. But imagine if I were confident, which I actually am, but
You are.
Imagine if I were confident. I'd be curious about why you would think that. I'd be coming from a place of, tell me more. Tell me why you think that I wasn't good enough. Because maybe I'll take something good away from that. Or I might be like, okay, that is your opinion. That's okay. I respect your opinion. But I like who I am. I like how I'm showing up. I don't have to change for you to like me, because then how many people do I change for? Every single person in your life. That's not possible. It's not like realistic. But we're doing that all the time, no?
Yeah.
So love yourself for who you are, because you're perfect the way you are. Doesn't mean you can't change and become the next best version of you, but you've got to, all of you, this is for all of you. You have to love yourself the way you are, with the body that you have, the mind that you have, the emotions that you have. You may not like all of it, but you have to love yourself anyway. Then it doesn't matter what people think about you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. It was, again, wonderful talk. Thank you, MMA, for bringing this. Yeah.
Sure. Sina was in news recently for her contributions on focusing her work on patients with facial pain. We are all very proud of you, Sina. Can you please share your experience with us on this Women's Day?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think there's like Bhavna and Veena, I believe.
Yes. So I just asked her if you could share her experience with us. So maybe she has to unmute. Sina. Yes, we have a few more questions in the line though. Are you able to hear us, Sina?
Yeah, I'm done with my questions. I don't know.
What I was saying is, could you please share your experience about your contributions with us?
Oh, with the my new job or?
Yeah, so you recently were in news, right? So can you talk?
Yeah. Just to give an introduction about myself, I'm a nurse practitioner. So I used to be in the neurology department, but since October of last year, I moved to neurosurgery. So I am primarily working with facial pain patients. I don't know how aware of people from our community. That's not a common diagnosis we see, or I knew about while I was back in India. So it's I primarily work with patients with a trigeminal neuralgia. It's a facial pain condition that comes up with a nerve disorder. So I work with a group of neurosurgeons and neurologists. So that's my new position at the University of Minnesota. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. So we have Veena next with a question.
Hi, Indu Auntie. I really appreciate the talk. I felt like it was very good and insightful for women of all ages, people of my generation, also immigrant people too. So it was very relatable. So I really appreciate it. I guess my question is when we, I feel like a lot of kids, especially in my generation, if we ever felt sad or depressed and go to our parents, you get the answer of you have a house and a car. When I came to America with $5 in my pocket, t-shirts, it's almost like we don't really have a right to be depressed. We shouldn't feel sad.
Yeah.
And part of me, especially the older I get, understands the parents in a sense. And then you start to judge yourself oh my gosh, they're right. I shouldn't. Right? So I guess what's your advice for parents when kids are feeling that way, and how that kind of comment impacts it, and what should they say instead, or I guess, or do you agree with that, or what's your stance on that?
No, I mean,
parents respond like that.
So again, I can't change the parents' minds about it. Mm-hmm. So you can't change your parents' mind about it. Mm-hmm. You can change how you respond to how they think about it. Because what are you making it mean is that now you're starting to doubt yourself for feeling how you feel, because you're starting to believe what they're saying. You're oh, maybe I should be more grateful because they came with $5 in their, in their wallet. But the thing is, Veena, we all have our reality. The kids of this generation are dealing with a lot more than our parents did, actually, if you think about it. Whether it's social media or the pandemic or everybody has their truth. It is not in our position to judge someone else's truth. But by the same token, you don't have to judge your parents for believing what they believe. What would you like to think about what they're saying that keeps you connected to them without having to change their minds about it? Because there are circumstances in your life. You can't change a circumstance. It's outside of you. You can try, but unless they're willing to cooperate, it's not going to change. Now, if you want to keep your connection with them, what would you have to think about what they're saying that would give you that feeling of connection still?
So what would I have to think about?
So they're saying, well, you should be more grateful and not complain about the little things or whatever. They're saying that. That's your circumstance. Your parents said that. Your mom said that. Or your dad said that. Right now you're thinking, oh my gosh, they don't understand. And you feel disconnected from them. Now, if your desire, and that could be just fine, you could just be disconnected. But if your desire is to feel connected, but you cannot change your circumstance, what would you want to think about what they said that would actually create a connection anyway?
I mean, sometimes you do empathize with them. I think the older I got, the more I could kind of understand where they're coming from. But I think the younger version of myself kind of almost judged myself.
Mm-hmm. Because you made it mean that you were somehow in the wrong. This is the blue hair example again. if you feel like you're right and that you have a reason to feel how you feel, it doesn't matter what other people say. You allow them to say what they say because that's what their brain is offering to them, but you don't make it your truth. Right now, you're adopting what they're saying as your truth, which is why you resent them for saying what they're saying, right? So you can't change what your parents think about, like our parents' generation thinks about it.
So then how do you think like parents of that generation can be like what should they say like to their kids?
I don't like to actually like, unless they're here to
like what can they
that
do?
question.
Yeah.
But this is what I would do.
Yeah.
I would, because I mean, I'm a parent, my kids are 21, 19 or almost 20 and like 17. So I also am tempted to say things like, dude, this is like, I had to do all these hard things. But I think my kids have actually helped me through this, where they're like, Mommy, we have challenges too. You know, so I've become I watch more than I judge now. I think I'm just like, I don't know what's going on in my children's head. You know, I don't know the pain that they're creating. Everything could be perfect around them, but their brain could be really hurting them. So how am I in a position to tell them how they should be feeling? But having said that, I also take opportunities to point out to them all the things that they do have, but not in a judgmental way, in a loving way. When it's possible, when they're not in that mood where they're feeling upset, we actually talk about all the blessings. Because, I mean, it's the same for all of us, right? Like, we can't see the blessings when we're feeling sorry for ourselves, when we're feeling sad about something. So you can't, when they're feeling that way, when they're coming to you and saying something, complaining about something, if you tell them, you know what, this is nothing. My mom used to do that to me. She'd be like, but look at all these other people. They're suffering so much more. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I really don't want to hear that. Now I just let her say that, but I don't really, I'm like, okay, but that's their truth. This is my truth. I'm not going to change what she says to me. Neither am I going to change how I feel about it in that moment. But maybe tomorrow, if I'm not judging myself for how I'm feeling today, I'm more likely to see the blessings tomorrow. But if I'm judging myself for how I'm feeling today, I'm not going to see the blessings. It's harder. I know that it's a little, like, it may seem a little convoluted, but we can't control how other people think. It's impossible. Unless we have figured out a way to get into someone else's brain and change their thinking. The only thing we have control over is how we think about what they have said. And because that thought creates a feeling in us, the feelings drive our actions. Actions create the result that we see in our lives. So our thoughts create our results. What your parent says does not create our results. I know it's like I'm going into a lot more complicated stuff. I would love to coach you on this at some point if you wanted to.
No, you were doing great. I guess like I do like totally get what you're saying. It's like when we're in control and we can't, like, it's like there's a way to accept our parents' answers without like allowing it to affect us. Like we can agree that like that's how our parents think, but this is how I think. I think just like when I think about like a young person, it's hard for them to develop that. So it's kind of almost like, I wonder like, what can the parents say differently or do differently other than just saying the like $5 in my pocket thing, like when their kid is very like.
But that's the thing. It's much better to be able to teach the children how to respond than to tell the parents to think differently.
Yeah. Okay.
It is always easier to empower the children. Parents may not be as open to changing how they think about things. Right? So it would be much easier for you to like show your children like, okay, this is what they mean. They're not invalidating your problems. They're just trying to show you perspective. It just comes out this way. And the other part to that is what you just said to me, you're like, I should accept it. You don't have to accept it. You can absolutely not accept it and say, Mom, like, we can't have this conversation if every time I say something to you about how I'm feeling, you're just going to bring up other people who are worse off than me. That's not what I want to hear. But if you're going to keep doing that, we're not going to have this conversation. This is how, when you become an adult, you act like an adult. Set boundaries. You don't try to change them, but you tell them, like, if you keep doing this, then I do this. You can't control other people. You can only control how you behave.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Our next question is from Bhavna.
Hi, Bhavna.
Oh, hi. A great session. A lot of information, a lot of tips. So my question is pretty generic. Yeah. So you were giving us tips how to remove negative emotions, like anger, frustration, and self-pity, and to train our mind to be positive. Do you know how long it actually takes, for the change to happen? Because there's so much of information around, so many life coaches, and we have like so many things to learn. But I think the hardest part is like staying positive. So in your experience, like when you advise your clients, how much time does it take for them to see the change?
I don't advise my clients to stay positive.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you go through different emotions, but just in general.
No, actually, Bhavna, the pursuit of happiness is what creates more unhappiness.
That is true. Yeah, I know that. But
right?
Just in general, like when you give tips and stuff, like you've given us so many tips. Like how do you bring about the change? Is it like a really slow process or?
So, I mean, it depends on how, it depends on how willing you are to like, you are to work on yourself, right? So most of my clients, we do about 12 sessions. Some of them within 6, they see a complete change. So I have a client whose husband emailed me after we were done with our sessions. We had done 12, and he emailed me and he said, I don't know what you did to my wife, but I've never seen her this happy since we've been together. And they've been married for like 10 years and they were together for like 15 years. And so when she came to me, she was like, I hate my job, but I can't leave it. My child has all these allergies, life-threatening allergies. Why me? And like she had like these 3 things that she couldn't, and my mother-in-law, 3 things. By the end of it, she was like, yeah, actually it's all fine. Like I can handle this. It was about self-love. And some people take 12 weeks. Some people take a year. Some people take 6 years. There's no time. So the reason we want to jump from unhappy to happy is because we think there's a place where there's only happy. But life's never only happy. It's always a balance of positive and negative. It's just that what is unhappy will look different there than here. So there's no point running from this place to that place. Stay where you are, understand why you're unhappy, and accept that, okay, life's 50-50 no matter where I am. I just need to accept that negative is not something I need to push away. You said removing negative emotion. You can't remove negative emotion. It's just part of your human experience. You just let it sit in the back seat of your car in a child lock, like, in a car seat, strapped in a car seat. You don't let it run your GPS or your radio station. That's all it is.
Well, I think that's the hardest part to do. It's like, even though it's easy to say, but to really implement that change in your life is really hard.
Absolutely. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Happy, and it's really hard to do that. So
when you don't put pressure on yourself to be happy all the time. So this is what I say. Don't pursue happiness, pursue growth. Because growth assumes some unhappiness and happiness. if you're pursuing growth when you're unhappy, you're just going to actually understand it and learn from it to become the next version of you. That will automatically find you some happiness. So I don't really pursue per se, like, happiness. I mean, I'm human, so I still do, but I'm not mad at myself anymore when I'm unhappy. I'm like, okay, today I'm feeling like my daughter went back to school last night to DC, and this morning I was crying because I was sad. But I was like, okay, I mean, that's normal. I don't have to like feel bad about feeling bad, And so then I was able to show up 45 minutes later and do this talk. But if I were to sit there and be like, why are you feeling bad? She's happy there. Like, you shouldn't be feeling sad. And I'm going to have judgment on top of that pain. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. It was a great session. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
So I guess that was the last question for today.
Thank you.
I must agree that this was a morning well spent, Indu. It was such a refreshing session, and after surviving the last 2, crazy years of everyone being home and me being diagnosed with Hashimoto's, my feelings are all over the place. I must agree that your talk has definitely helped me personally. And I've made notes on how I can, deal with my own feelings going forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is good for everyone because, like I said, a diagnosis, it feels personal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a circumstance. The first arrow of it is the clean pain. But what you think about it creates additional suffering. So choose what you want to think about it so that you experience it in the way that you have control over.
Yeah. And sometimes when I feel that this is something that happens within me, like, for example, if it had been some other sickness, you see it outside, but when it's a hormonal imbalance, it's so hard for others who live with you to understand what you're going through. Yeah. So I try to explain myself, and that sometimes doesn't go down very well. It's like, and I'm trying to tell myself, what the reason you're feeling this is because of this. And it's not been easy, but then somehow, it just.
No, but so that's the thing. Now I remind myself, life is 50% sucky and 50% awesome. So the sucky part's going to be there. Like, so you just have to remind yourself when people are not understanding of what I'm going through, that's the sucky part. How do I want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Do I want to get mad at them, or do I just want to control my, where I have peace? Where I'm like, I'll just let them do what they want to do. This was such a pleasure. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Can I quickly ask something, Ria?
Sure.
Just, we are kind of wrapping up, Indu, because we are starting as a women's group now. This is the first thing you are inaugurating. See, we all came to you because we all have feelings and we have something to learn from you, right?
Yeah.
So do you see from a women's, working with the women with, feelings, can we, always women support other women, right? Women, there is lots of quote that women cannot live without other women, right? All those nice things. Do you see any insight or any points or any thoughts around how we can come as a group to become, that empowered or little better women?
I mean, I think you're doing a great job. Like this is exactly like, I always think for me personally, it's always education. It's how can I learn more about myself and how I can be a better version of myself? Because when I start liking myself more, then I can be of more help to other people. And I mean, I don't know that I'm an expert to speak on this, but I think you guys are doing a great job. This is exactly what women need. They need they need an arena to be able to come and talk about what they're thinking and feeling and have questions answered so that they don't feel like weird and abnormal for being who they are. And you're providing that. And I think that that's amazing. I mean, I would love to have more suggestions for you, but I actually don't. See, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, thank you. That's fine. Just sharing thoughts. Here,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
I'm so happy, Kavita, starting this women's forum. We have a very good team members, and this is a very good start.
Yeah, it's amazing, Kavita. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Indu. So proud of you. It's really amazing.
Thank you. I'm very
Now
grateful.
Now I call upon Soumya, Director at Large for Volunteering, to share the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ria, for hosting the show and keeping us engaged. Thank you, Indu Chatham, for a lovely and insightful talk on an important topic that is not commonly discussed. In these uncertain times, it is definitely good to hear that it's okay not to be okay. I'm sure many of us will benefit from the tips and techniques shared by you to channel our negative feelings the right way to create our lives we desire. And thank you to our sponsor, Minu John, eXp Realty, for this beneficial event. We are grateful for your help to make this event happen. Our special thanks to Asianet US Weekly Roundup for being our media partner, and to our own Asha Mathew for facilitating the same. I want to use this opportunity to also thank and wish good luck to our core committee members and volunteers of Mitra, MMA Women's Forum, spearheaded by our Vice President Kavita Thomas, who also gave us a wonderful welcome speech and was the one who approached Indu Chatham to do this talk show for us. Thank you, Kavita Chechi. We hope to see many more such events and programs that help empower women in our community. I would also like to thank the president of MMA, Manoj Prabhu, for his innovative and strategic thinking to make a difference in our Malayali community. Thank you, Ria Mathew, Director at Large, Charity, Digital and Media Content and Food, for creating event flyers and banner. Thank you, Veena Tharayal, Director at Large, Marketing and Communication, for ensuring the event details went out to our community in a timely manner. Thank you, Smita Chechi, Director of Membership, for helping us with the event dry runs. Next, I would like to say thank you to the three musketeers behind the scene who were a significant help with technology to run the show without any glitches. A big shout out to Renju Matthews, Joint Secretary, Sujit Kurup, Treasurer, and Roshan Abraham, Director at Large Technology. Also, thank you to our other board of directors, Fazal Harris, Director of Youth Activities and Community Engagement, and Sajit Padmaja, Secretary, for helping us put together this event. Last but not the least, a big shout out to you all, the wonderful participants from our community, for joining us here and through Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for asking good questions. This event would not have been the same without you. We hope all of you will take home valuable insights and tips from this event. Thank you once again to everyone who have been a part of this successful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Soumya. And thank you once again, Indu, for being a part of our day and lives. We won't hold you back any longer if you want to move on with your day, as we all know how busy our weekends can be.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Our next program on the calendar is Varnolsavam. In-person events will be on the 23rd April and virtual events on 30th April. We have sent out the email with the registration details. I hope you consider letting your children participate in it. Let me take this opportunity to once again remind you all to become a member of MMA if you haven't already. You can find more details on our website, mnmalayali.org. Like someone wise once said, all good things must come to an end. I welcome you all to hang around and chit-chat for a bit if you'd like. I'll be staying for some time. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Ria.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, Kavita Chechi, for actually bringing in Indu for this program.
Okay.
And thanks to everyone who showed up today.
Yes.
It's so nice to see so many of us being a part of this